How many of you have had a client come in, ask you a question, and you're thinking, oh my God, clearly I've got deers in the headlight. I don't have a clue as to what the heck I'm going to say. So following are a few ideas on how to get yourself out of those jams. So one of the fears that we often have for those of us who do consulting, and this is quite common as an accountant, and especially fairly new at the business, it's that fear of a client coming in and asking you questions for which you know absolutely nothing about. So that fear can sometimes really translate itself very clearly in your lack of confidence, and which can, of course, then reduce the confidence the client has in you. So following is a short interview that I had with Howard where he discusses that very situation, and as well as other challenges that he's had in being in practice and how he's overcome those things. So I think you're going to enjoy the conversation that I had with Howard Wirtz, who owns a practice in rural Manitoba, and hopefully you'll get a few tidbits of information that can serve you well in extinguishing some of those fears of the challenges that come with being in public practice. What is the most challenging obstacle that you had to overcome since you've been in practice?
That's a good one. I would say that the biggest obstacles are yourself, is getting over yourself, getting over your fears, over your intimidation. With me, when I first started, it was intimidation of being in front of a client.
Yeah.
And did I have the knowledge? Did I, are they going to stump me with something? So to believe in myself and the knowledge that I'd gained through my studies, and let's face it, doing tax returns not in front of a client is a lot different than in front of a client, as you know. So for me, it was that confidence of okay, I've got this, and inexperience the first season.
Yeah.
Next season built on it, and then you get over. So to me, I would say that would be number one.
So how do you get over that? Because a lot of people who are just starting out, that is always their fear, is that clients will come in, ask a question that they don't know the answer to. And I remember first being in practice and always worrying about looking like a complete fool in front of the client. And I suspect you had the same fears when you started.
Yeah.
How do you get over that?
Well, it's confidence in your abilities that actually they're not going to ask you anything that's crazy. And if you don't know, all you can tell them is that I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll look it up for you and I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
I haven't had lost a client for that reason ever.
Agreed.
So what are we so afraid of?
Yeah.
And so it's really, as CPAs, we've been trained, we've learned this, we've gotten the knowledge, and worst case scenarios, I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
So what's wrong with that?
Yeah. And I remember when I was not that long in practice, I had a client who was going into certain transactions that was way over my head. So what I had recommended to this client of mine says, well, tell you what, I will bring another accountant in who will be able to answer all of your questions, and then we'll figure out some fees regarding to that. So I brought in this accountant who had years and years of experience to answer all of my clients' questions, and I'm sitting by waiting for all these answers. So the client is asking him the question, and the accountant says, I'm not too sure, I'll have to get back on you. Asked a second question, and same thing, well, I'm not sure, I'll have to get back on you. So the whole hour went by, and I think out of the 15 questions, he maybe answered like 3 of them. Right. And the other 12, he says, I'll have to get back. Yeah. And I still remember the accountant had left, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, the client's going to be so disappointed in who I brought in as the expert. Yeah. And so the accountant leaves, and my client says, boy, he's really smart. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? He didn't give you any answers. But it was amazing how he was just impressed with how he knew things a little bit, enough to get by, but didn't have all the answers, and the client was okay with that. And that for me was kind of, okay, well, clients don't care if I don't have all of the answers.
They do not.
They don't.
And if you can answer a couple things, that's fine.
Good. Yeah.
And ultimately, I think what it is that the client is kind of testing you out in a way to see if you're actually shooting straight with them.
Yeah.
And, is this guy for real?
Exactly.
And if you can demonstrate that you're genuine, that you're a decent human being, and as well as a good accountant, speaks volumes.
Yeah, and I remember reading something from David Cottle, and he said something along the lines that people don't care what you know until they know how much you care.
Exactly.
And that is so true.
Absolutely.
They're way more concerned about how much you care than what you know.
And they will pick up on it very quickly.
Oh, yes, they do. Yeah.
You won't fool people for very long.
No.
And you'll fool some of the people some of the time, but all the people, not much of the time. So
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that short interview. If you liked it, please indicate so. Please subscribe. And remember to work more on your practice rather than in your practice.